Notts County Talk, welcome back to the channel. We have another fantastic player interview. This time, as you can see, it's George Abbott. So, George, thank you very, very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you on. The fans, we've teased it on social media, also very excited to have you on. If you have been watching so far this season, George is our second player. We had Sam Austin back in, I think it was August, wasn't it, George? Just before the season started, maybe. So go check that one out as well. We'll put the link to that in the description to the video. But George, first of all, how are you doing? I know you had that recent knock. Did you pick it up in the Peterborough game?
Yeah, it was in the Peterborough game. Yeah, I think it was just a knock. I felt it a bit in training, so sort of just monitoring it a bit now. See how it is on Thursday, then hopefully I should be involved against Salford.
Yeah, and obviously you were back in contention for the Colchester game. Was that frustrating to be called off, or do you feel like it gave you a little bit more time to get over that injury?
You know what? It was a bit of both, because I was a bit frustrated that it was called off, but then I was thinking that it's probably helped me a bit that I've been able to recover for a bit longer. So then any worries about anything in that game has sort of gone away. So hopefully it should be all fine now.
Yeah, good news. Good news. So, George, we've got a few questions from ourselves. Then we've got a quick fire question round, some questions about football, some questions just in general. And then we've had lots and lots of questions from fans. We've had to whittle them down because we had too many to put in the video across all of our social media platforms. And then we'll put those to you as well. So, first of all, I think it's probably a good place to start in. How did you get into football?
To be fair, it was when I was a lot younger. I sort of just at school, I'd play a bit. I was a bit shy, so I didn't really sort of do it right at the start. But I think a couple of my teachers sort of helped me get into it. So I started playing at school with my friends, and then I had one of the PE teachers actually had his own sort of Sunday league team. So I sort of went on to that, ended up joining it, and then sort of played a game against Tottenham with them. Went straight to Tottenham from there.
Yeah. So,
what would you say your biggest inspirations have been, sort of, in your journey into football? Whether it be like a player or, like, say, a coach or something like that.
To be fair, it's probably I had a player in mind from when I was much younger at Tottenham, who was Moussa Dembele. I always sort of liked watching him. I always thought he was a joke of a player. Couldn't really get the ball off him as well, so I sort of loved watching him play. And obviously, I've got my parents who have helped me along the journey, and all the coaches at Tottenham as well have been great to me throughout my whole time there. So I appreciate a lot from them as well.
I don't know if you've seen this, but I've seen so many players interviewed when they're asked who the best player they've ever played with is, and they all, like, loads of them say Moussa Dembele.
Yeah, even against people that played against him.
Yeah, as well. I've heard that people in training, I was a ridiculous player.
Yeah, he was just so good. Like, even just watching him, like, genuinely no one could tackle him. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, I mean, good footballer, strong, powerful. Very good player. Thinking about your time at Spurs, you played midfield for us, but also I believe it was Chesterfield away you played in the wing-back position. Do you have a preference? Did you start in one position and have you gradually drifted into another, or are you happy to switch between?
To be fair, I've always preferred being in the midfield. Sort of the role I've been playing recently is more of a sitter. It's probably my preferred role, but obviously I'm able to play fullback sometimes, because at Tottenham I play fullback a bit. But obviously with their sort of format, I could drift inside and play more as a midfielder as well. But when I played wing back, I didn't really mind it. But obviously, I think my preferred position is more as a sitter.
You know that game against Chesterfield when I was in the away end and I was trying to work out where players were, and someone said to me, "Oh, George Abbott's playing wing back." I was like, "No, he's not. He's not playing wing back. He's not playing wing back so far for us." And you did play wing back. How was that? Just a pure switch. How much of that do you work on in training? Because you don't have long. I mean, League Two is a lot of Saturday, Tuesday games. So was that switch comfortable, or was there a lot of work to go in for it?
To be fair, it wasn't too bad. I mean, I think I got used to it quite quickly. I mean, playing wing back was a bit different for me because obviously, I think fullback's a bit different from wing back. Wing back, you sort of have to be up and down a lot more. So it was a bit of a change for me for that, because I'd have to get in the box as well as sort of defending, which I'm not really too used to playing fullback. But honestly, it wasn't that big of a change for me, to be honest. Thought I got into it quite easily, and sort of the routine of Saturday, Tuesday, it's not been too bad so far.
Yeah, plenty of football to get in.
Yeah, and on a bit of a contrast, I'm right in thinking that you played against Bayern Munich in a friendly.
Yeah.
What was that experience like? Like, talk us through that.
No, it was a bit surreal, to be fair. Coming on and playing against those sorts of level of players. Obviously, I don't think Harry Kane was playing. I think Musiala was on the bench, but obviously the majority of their team was there. So obviously playing against them was it was unreal, to be fair. I thought I did all right as well. But no, it was just a great feeling being on the pitch with them.
Yeah, was that part of a pre-season tour, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Was that Japan and Korea? Was that part of that tour?
Yeah.
So how early into sort of pre-season do you find that you're going to be taken on that tour, or were you taken on previous tours but just not played, or how does that work?
I think it's just sort of, we didn't really know who was going on that tour, because obviously I'd trained with them at the start for most of pre-season, so I sort of assumed that I might be going on it, but I wasn't like 100% sure if I was going on it or not. I think I obviously went on the one to Australia, which was the end of season, and obviously I was doing well in training with the first team and everything, so I sort of thought I might be going on the one to Korea and Japan. So I think maybe a couple of days before we got told, and that's how I found out.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, football is massive across the world, isn't it? But Premier League football especially, like I bet fans were, you get 2,000 Notts fans going away on a Tuesday night, but I bet it was very, very different traveling there.
Yeah, and obviously when you've got Son there as well, all the fans, it was like completely packed in a very big stadium as well, actually. So it was a bit of a different. There's lots of fans as well, but no, in general, it was quite a good experience.
Yeah, I can imagine. Definitely.
Yeah.
Imagine.
So you signed for Notts on the 29th of August. How did that deal come about for you?
Well, actually, I think I heard about it quite late. So I think there was one or two clubs that wanted me. And obviously when I got told about Notts, I sort of did a bit of research into them. And I saw that obviously the style of play and all of that sort of suited how I would play. So when I found all that out, I sort of was more excited and happy to join if the opportunity came about. So when I found out and did all that research, I had more of a reason to want to come here than any other club, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think Notts is quite unique because I think teams are starting to try and play out from the back of it now across all leagues, and you can see it. Yeah. It's working at some clubs, it's not working at others. I think we do play a very nice brand of football here. I think it's a good brand of football to watch. Is it similar to what you were sort of playing at Spurs? Well, even at one level.
Yeah, honestly, it is actually really similar, which actually took me by surprise a bit because I knew Notts was a ball-playing team, so I expected to come into a team like that. But no, the style we play is really not far off the style we play at Tottenham. So I think that's why I found it so easy to actually come into this group, because we were playing how I would at Tottenham. So getting used to it was quite easy for me, actually.
Yeah, I can imagine. We do play some of the nicest football. A lot of possession as well, isn't it? A lot of possession. Yeah. Sometimes I've been in the stand sort of 20, 25 minutes into home games, especially, and I look and we've got sort of 80% possession, which is almost unheard of at some point. And how is that though? Do you have to remain switched on? Because I feel like teams do try and counter us quite a lot. So when you've got so much of the ball, you're not constantly having to break play up or retrieve it. How do you stay switched on in those situations, or is it just come naturally?
I feel like it probably comes more naturally for me, but yeah, like you said, we do need to stay switched on, because a lot of teams do their research against us and realise that we'll have the ball like the majority of the game. So they know that when it comes to it, if a counter-attack happens or they get the ball from a set piece or something, and they just shed it long or they have a couple people up, then they know they can hurt us from that. But no, I think we just sort of need to stay switched on because we have the ball all the time and you can't really get sort of too laid back about it because some teams, as we've seen before, are pretty dangerous when they win the ball back on the counter. So, yeah, we just sort of need to be ready for it if it does happen.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier that we had Sam Austin on. And I was trying to work out through the Notts players I've had throughout a few years on the channel. Sam Austin come up through non-league, came from Kidderminster, really highly rated amongst fans of teams he's been at. But it's very different to coming from a team like Spurs. So even at a young age, do you feel pressure even in those lower youth teams, or is it sort of there's so much focus on the first team that there isn't too much pressure on you? How do you deal with that?
To be fair, there is a bit of pressure when we've sort of been under 21s level at under 18s, because I reckon that's sort of the point where you sort of want to be pushing into the first team. So then the first team results start to matter in comparison to our games, because if we do well, we might be needed up with the first team. So I guess there is a bit of pressure when it comes to that, but generally it's not too bad. You're sort of able to play your own football without having to worry about all the outside noise and stuff like that, because there isn't too much of it. But I guess when you get to 21s a bit, it starts getting a bit more serious, I reckon.
Attendance wise for under 21 matches, what's that like?
It's not bad. It's not that many though, but I don't know. I guess at that age, it's sort of any attendance makes a difference. Being able to get fans to watch you and make a bit of noise as much as they can. So it's not too bad at that age, but obviously it's not as many. And
did you win a couple of under 21 titles as well?
Yeah, we did actually. To be fair, the age group that I've come up with, we won, I think it was at under 18s, we won 2 cups there. And then obviously my age group went up to 21s level. And then we ended up winning the league. And then at that point, there weren't 2 leagues. They just sort of combined the league. So then we ended up having playoffs and all that sort of stuff. So, and we ended up winning the playoffs as well. So we got 2 trophies for one thing, to be fair. But
and is that very much like the Premier League right now? Is, you know, your Man City, Spurs, Man U, Chelsea, Arsenal. Are the Prem teams very similar in the under 21 league you're in, or is there a mixture? Is there some EFL clubs in there that have got great academies?
There's not too much of a mixture. No, it kind of does follow the Premier League. But you've got a couple, but like I think Sunderland was up. To be fair, Sunderland got to the finals against us. So you had a couple of teams like that, but other than that, it was more just how you think it would be with all the Prem teams in there.
Yeah.
Sort of transitioning down to League Two, what were your expectations of the football at this level?
Well, I honestly thought, I know I was going into a team like Notts where they would play, but I thought it'd be a lot of getting the ball kicked onto you and then having to head it and sort of scrap for second balls and all that sort of thing. But although we have come up against a couple of teams who've done that, I think when they've realised that we play out to be fair, a few teams have tried to play out as well. And some of them it's worked with, but there's a lot less long ball football than I thought it would be coming into this league. So it's actually worked out better for me that it is that way. Yeah.
We obviously, this is I'm losing the years. This is our second season back in the Football League. We spent time in the National League. And the National League is as you would expect. But there still are some decent ball playing sides, even in the National League. Surprised us from our, 4 years in there, George? It's a while in there. Did you manage to, or did anyone give you any advice before joining? Did you speak to anyone that played down in sort of League 1, League 2 level? Or was it purely you had no one sort of giving you an insight into it?
You know what? Apart from the people at Tottenham, I didn't actually know or speak to anyone who had played League Two, League One. Obviously, there were a couple boys in the 21s, sort of a bit older than me, who had done that. Like Matty Craig, I think, went to Doncaster, was it, the other year? And then a couple of the other boys had also played League One, League Two football. But apart from that, I didn't really know much about it. Some of the coaches spoke to me about it, who obviously have spent a lot of time in football, so they knew how it would be like. So I took most of the information off them, to be fair, and that's sort of what I went off when I came here.
Yeah, do you remember any advice they gave or anything, sort of words of wisdom before you came down?
Well, they were just telling me to sort of express myself and not feel like I'm sort of out of place or anything, because obviously the leagues, League One, League Two, it's not like it's bad football or anything. Teams do play good football, so it's sort of about first few games don't really feel out of place and feel like you can still play the way I normally play, but just in League Two. So yeah, I went in thinking like that, and obviously my first game, I played with confidence, and I think that's what sort of helped me build from there.
Yeah. So 29th of August, you signed for us. That's when we first found out we were getting you. Obviously, social media now, we could chat to a few Spurs fans. They said we were getting, telling us what kind of player you were and to be excited there. Obviously, as soon as someone mentions you've just played Bayern Munich, everyone's like, oh my goodness me, like what kind of player are we getting? So it was very, very exciting. So you come to Notts. Are you now, dropped at Notts and allowed to experience it for yourself and just see what it's like in a first team in League Two, or are you constantly in communication with Spurs, or is it sort of in between?
It's sort of in between, actually. I've got a couple people from Spurs who I speak to a bit more regularly. Obviously, people sort of drop in and out asking how I've been and everything, but I don't think there's a lot from that. I mean, I think they're sort of letting me get used to it, sort of get as many games as I can under my belt, and sort of enjoy myself while I'm here, to be fair. But I still have a couple people who do look after me, ask how I am and everything, which is actually quite nice. But yeah, I think I'm just sort of settling in now, so there's not too much going on.
Yeah, fair enough. So I've just mentioned you joined Notts. What was sort of the first, like, what was the settling in phase like? Did any players help you settle in? Was it a team effort?
Yeah, to be fair, all the boys actually helped me. When I was coming in, I thought it'd be quite difficult to settle in because obviously Tottenham's the only club I've really been at, so I haven't really been too far away from home and stuff like that. So when I did come in, the boys settled me down immediately. They spoke to me. I sort of spoke to them for the first couple of days and got used to the environment and everything. To be fair, a couple of the older boys like Didsey, where I think I saw Sam Austin talking about when he was on the podcast. So yeah, but he was a real help when I first came. He spoke to me, sort of guided me through everything, and no, he was a top lad.
Yeah, that's reminded me as well. I don't know. We had Adam Chickson as well, didn't we, George, as well? Adam Chickson was on it year before. So before we go into our sort of quick fire questions, I've got to ask about the goal at Peterborough. First senior goal.
Yeah.
Right. Not a bad goal. Went viral. I mean, I think on Twitter and Facebook, sort of the official FA Cup pages were sharing your goal.
Yeah.
Talk me through like what was going through your head at that time, because it's a crazy angle.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the state of the game, it was 4-2, and I didn't actually realise we were a man down until people were saying afterwards.
Neither did I.
I had no idea because no one got a red card or anything, and I had no idea Platty, when he came off, he stayed off. So I was sort of wondering why we were struggling a bit to press them, and they kept getting out. But obviously, when I found out, I sort of realised. But yeah, it was 4-2, and I remember it was late in the game, and when I saw the keeper slip, as soon as I took my touch, I was thinking I'm going to hit this no matter what. And yeah, I actually got quite a clean connection on it, and I saw the keeper running back, and I don't think he was too sure where the ball was going. But yeah, it was great for that to be my first goal, I think, because I'll definitely remember that for a while.
I think he ran into his own post, didn't he, the keeper at the time? Literally didn't have a clue where the ball was. From then on, with 10 men, I remember that game, and I was like I was almost right behind the goal when you put it in. With 10 men, next thing I know, I think Alex Bass came up. We got a free kick.
Yeah.
This felt like we played a side of league above Peterborough, very, very good attacking side. I think they were the second top scorers in League One at the point we played them. You could see they have some great players. But how was that? Because that would have been, they had an almost full strength League One squad out. How did you feel playing in the midfield against that?
I actually thought I felt fine, to be fair. I thought the midfield that we had came up against them quite well. I didn't think we looked out of place or anything like that. I think it looked like quite an even game. And we actually started really well. Obviously, like you said, Peterborough, very good attacking wise. So they did have quite a few chances at the start where you thought, they're going to probably score most times they attack there. But honestly, when we got the 2 goals, I didn't think we looked out of place at all. I thought when I was playing in the midfield, I felt quite comfortable playing against them. I didn't feel like they were that much better than us. But no, I thought it was all right.
Would have been an interesting extra time playing with 10 men with no man.
Yeah.
If we'd have scored that late free kick, would have been very, very interesting. I think, George, we were chatting as well, weren't we, about the midfield relationship that George is building up.
Yeah.
So with Matty Palmer, how's that?
Yeah, it's actually, I think it's getting better every game, to be fair. I think first time I was with him, it was sort of about us kind of getting used to playing with each other. But I think after a couple of games we've had, I think we sort of know how each other play and know what each other want. I think we've been playing really well together as a double pivot. So honestly, that relationship's getting a lot better. And I think our performances are getting better as well.
Yeah, nightmare for us last season when he went off. I think it was against Wrexham, was it? Or Mansfield, George, one of those 2 games at home.
Yeah, I get mixed up because Bostock injured and it was vice versa one, and I can't remember which game it was.
Yeah, we basically lost our main 2 centre-mids last year at that point. But yeah, but no, it is a very good relationship that's building up. And obviously we've got Robbo starting to come back in now, haven't we?
Yeah.
He was on the bench against Walsall. So yeah, that should be good. So George, what we're going to do now is we're going to go into some quick fire questions. We've got 10 of them. As I said, some are about football, some are sort of more about yourself. George is going to kick you off with the first 5. So yeah.
Right then, first one. What do you like to do in your spare time?
To be fair, just at the apartment, I probably just play PS5. Now play a bit of COD, a bit of GTA, and now Fortnite's sort of back a bit. I'm playing a bit of that as well. So pretty much just on the PlayStation or watching YouTube.
Anyone else at Knots play? I know Jody does. Jody's on.
Yeah, I know a couple of the boys play COD. And I think a couple of them are getting back into Fortnite now. So yeah, I think it's a bit of a mix, to be fair.
Right, second question then. What would you prefer to win? A World Cup or a Champions League?
I think it's got to be a World Cup. Winning that with your country, I don't think there's anything better, to be fair.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one, definitely. Do you have a set pre-match meal?
Not really. I mean, I don't like eating too much because normally if I eat too much, it sort of stomach's hurting on the pitch and everything. So I'll normally have something light, either toast and something or pancakes and something. And then that will normally get me through the game. And then after, I'm a bit hungry, but I can eat whatever I want at that point. So it's actually all right.
Just based on that question, what kickoff time do you prefer, George? Do you prefer, early? Because we've got 12:30 this Saturday, haven't we, against Salford?
Yeah.
Do you prefer an evening kickoff?
I actually prefer more of an early kickoff because then it's less waiting around. I don't really, when it's late kickoff, think waiting around I don't really like it too much. I find it a bit long and sort of eating away the day. So I prefer having an earlier kickoff where you can get over and done with and sort of still have a bit of the day left to go.
Yeah, on to the next one. Similar sort of theme. What would you prefer? An amazing assist or a perfectly timed last man challenge?
Oh, that's actually a tough question, that. To be fair, I'd probably rather an amazing assist, but I think the feeling of a perfectly timed challenge I don't think there's much better than that, especially when the crowd's behind you as well. I think that's just unbelievable as well. But I'll take the assist, I think.
Yeah, that's a tough one, that is for sure. The next one then, would you like to play abroad at some point in your career? And if so, what country would you prefer to play in?
To be fair, I wouldn't mind playing abroad. Probably somewhere in a Spanish league. I think the football out there is just so good to watch as well, and the players are so technically good. I think just being sort of in and around that, I think I'd enjoy that a lot actually. So probably Spain, yeah.
Yeah. I won't mind playing a bit of the MLS. I'll tell you what, I quite like watching the MLS. George, I don't know if you have Spotify, but if you do have it, did you get your Spotify Wrapped? And who is your most listened to artist of the year?
Oh, do you know what? I actually haven't even had a look yet.
First thing I did.
I'm actually not sure who it was. No, you've said it. I haven't got a clue. But no, I haven't even looked at it yet. No.
Could you have a guess who it might be?
Oh, see, my music's a bit varied. I've got quite a few different artists up there. It might be maybe Gunner or something like that, because I think recently I've been listening to a lot of him. So I reckon that's probably up there. But honestly, it's a big mix. It'd be people that you wouldn't really think's up there, like the complete opposite to Gunner. So honestly,
Taylor Swift.
No, not Taylor Swift. No.
Taylor Swift was my fourth, but I do share my Spotify with my wife, so that's definitely why.
Classic.
Nothing to do with me. Do you kind of listen to your own music before a match, or do you have a DJ in the dressing room?
So normally there's a DJ. Normally it's Didsy or Kells. But no, I don't really listen to my own music. I'll listen to it on the bus and everything. But when I get to the change rooms, I'll have my AirPods out and I'll be listening to whatever's going on in the change room and sort of getting ready for the game. I don't really listen to my own stuff at that point.
Yeah, fair enough. Next one then. Do you watch a lot of football?
Whenever there's football on, I do try to watch it, because there's not much to do.
Yeah. I mean, you get some players that just kind of switch off from it, don't you, and would rather do something else than watch football. I'm going to guess, but I might be wrong. Are you a Spurs fan?
I'm not actually. Spurs is, to be fair, when I was younger, it was more, I actually supported Norwich because my family supported them, so it's sort of gone down through the family.
Yeah.
But obviously, because Norwich is a bit of an up and down team, my Premier League team is obviously Tottenham. But when I can watch Norwich, or when the games are sort of on so I can watch them, I'll try to watch them. Yeah.
I thought it might have made him a Spurs fan, being there so long. You see a lot of pundits, don't you, that adopt the team they played for a while, but fair play. What's your favourite place to visit on holiday? Is the next one.
To be fair, most years I go to the south of France with my family, and it's very, very nice there. We sort of don't go to the main places. Sort of, whenever I've been told by my parents where I'm going, sort of place I haven't really heard of. But the south of France is so nice. It's always hot. The weather's always good. So it's either, I reckon it's probably there or somewhere in Spain.
Could you see yourself playing the south of France? Some decent teams there get European football.
I wouldn't be against it actually. If a decent team came, then I reckon I wouldn't be against it. Yeah.
Nice, be nice down there. Would you rather watch a film or read a book?
Probably rather watch film. Yeah.
film. And final one of our 10 questions. What has been your best moment in football so far?
I think it would have to be making my debut for Tottenham. I think we played Leeds at Ellen Road last game of the season a couple seasons ago. And for me, like the atmosphere and everything, I don't think there's much that's topped it so far. But yeah, so probably that.
Yeah, that's a great ground as well. Very, very
Yeah,
good
exactly.
ground. I bet you're itching to play. I don't think you have yet played a competitive league game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
No, I haven't. No.
Have you played any games there at all? Whether that be pre-season or under 21 level?
At under 21 level, yeah, I think towards the latter games of the sort of the cup games and all that sort of thing, I think we had to play our games at the stadium. So I have played there a couple times, and playing on that pitch is it's such a good pitch to play on, and the stadium itself is so good. I mean, no, I sort of loved it.
It has to be maybe the best stadium in the world, I think.
Yeah, I think it's definitely up there.
Unreal. That takes us on to our fan questions then. As I said, if you are watching, you put your questions in. We can only put a limited amount in. There was just far too many across our social media platforms, X, Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky as well. Even had a couple in on email. So we'll put these to you. So Andrew Swift from Facebook, first question says, what has been the most eye-opening thing about your time at Notts?
You know what? It's probably the football that's played in League Two, and obviously the way we play. Sort of took me by surprise a bit because of how much we have the ball, and also I think the fans as well. I didn't really expect. Obviously, I knew the turnout was big for Notts, but I didn't expect it to be as big as it was. So I think sort of going into that, I was quite surprised in the first game I had actually.
We do travel well as Notts fans.
Yeah.
Moving on then, next one.
Yeah, next one's from Max from Blue Sky. Who else from your age group at Spurs do we need to watch out for?
To be for there's a couple. Obviously, you've probably heard Will Lancashire.
Yeah.
Sort of played quite a few games, scored a goal as well. So he's definitely up there. You've got Jamie Donnelly, who's at Leyton Orient on loan. He's very, very good as well. Probably a couple others. Mikey Moore, you've seen him. I expect you've seen him because he's also been playing a few games. So probably those three are up there with ones to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye out. Another question here then. Who is the best player you've played alongside? Now, it could have even been, because technically you played alongside players when you came on at Ellen Road for those few minutes.
Yeah.
Who's the best you've played alongside them?
I think I'll just have to say Harry Kane, wouldn't I? I think the time that I spent on the pitch with him, sort of, he's just an unbelievable player, and his finishing, his passing technique, all of that is just... It's just levels above everyone. So I reckon it would be Harry Kane.
Yeah, you know, on those that match day, so being in and around that squad, came obviously there. You've got all those other players. What was that like? Because obviously we've spoken about you being on tour with a bigger squad, and also some other young players like yourself. But being on that, smaller match day squad, how was that?
Yeah, no, that was unbelievable because I think I found out that I was traveling maybe a day or two before. And, so being in and around that group where there weren't too many young lads, it was more just the senior boys, the people who normally play and everything. I think being in and around that and traveling with them and doing everything with them, it was actually really quite special for me. I mean, at a young age as well, being around players that I've watched on TV and sort of looked up to the whole time I've been at Tottenham. I think it was great being playing alongside them.
And what minute or what point did you sort of realise you were coming on? Because as the goals were going in, was it 4-1 win?
Yeah, it was.
You must have been thinking like, there's a chance here.
Yeah, I think when it hit 2-1, I was sort of hoping we would get another goal, because having that sort of 2-goal gap, that's sort of the time where they can relax a bit and feel like they would be able to put me on. So when we were up by 2 goals, I was like, oh, I actually might have a chance of coming on here. And obviously when they called me, it was like, it's just great feeling.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think our chance has gone to get on a Premier League pitch, but you never know. You never know.
Yeah, so next one's from Richard. Who is the best player you've ever played against?
Ooh. That's a good question, actually.
Could even be someone this season. Never know.
Yeah, there've been quite a few, actually. Obviously, you had a couple of the Bayern players like Goretzka and those sorts of players. They were unreal to play against and sort of watch as well. But yeah, even the players in League Two that I've played against, they've been unbelievable as well. The guy who scored that goal where he sort of ran from the edge of our box, and yeah, he was a joke of a player as well, and he was so quick. So there are quite a few League Two players who have sort of stood out for me as well, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I realise I've just compared League Two players to Bayern players, but yeah, we'll forget I said that. But no, yeah, Goretzka, great player as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was hoping we might. You brought it up, George. I was kind of hoping we might not talk about that goal, the Crew game when he breezed past about 4 knots players.
Yeah.
You and Sam Austin, both trying to catch him up.
Yeah, I was never catching him.
He was quick. It
was not happening.
Another question then, it's from Lucas on X. What has been your favourite game to play in for Not so far?
You know, that's a good question as well. I would say the Doncaster game. I really enjoyed playing in that. I thought I was told before that game that was quite a big game going into it. Doncaster, Notts. I was told that the crowd would be up for it as well. It was quite a big game, and when it came to it, it did end up being a huge game. A bit back and forth. Doncaster played very well as well, and obviously we played just as good, probably better. So yeah, I'd probably say that game was one of my favourites to play in.
Yeah, that was a massive away following from us as well. And
yeah,
I remember that first half, we were unbelievable.
Yeah.
But yeah, Doncaster, great side, and I think we'll both be up there towards the end of the season. Another question coming in from X then.
This one's from Pythagorean. How do training sessions method at Notts compared to what you were experiencing at Spurs?
Yeah, so I mean, as I was saying before, with sort of the way Tottenham play is quite similar to Notts. When I've come into this, the training sessions have been quite similar as well. In terms of what sessions are being put on. So obviously the possessions and sort of small-sided and those sort of things are actually quite similar. So obviously apart from being amongst different players, the training and sort of training methods have been pretty similar. And yeah, getting used to that has been quite easy. So yeah, I'd say it's pretty much the same actually.
Yeah, and our final question is from Deck that I'm going to bring on in a minute. And it's sort of, I haven't written the whole question out, but it's sort of looking at, I think it was looking at with the injuries we've had at the minute, and we've been quite unlucky, haven't we? We've got players coming back, which we've mentioned, Robbo coming back and Dan Crowley. So that's really the second part of the question. But how's your relationship with the gaffer, and what is the atmosphere like amongst the squad?
Yeah, I actually have quite a good relationship with the gaffer. I mean, after training, he'll speak to me sometimes about what he wants from me or what to expect from this team and sort of how to go about it. And he does help me a lot with those sorts of things. He's sort of been a great help to me since I've joined. He's made me feel quite welcome as well. So I do actually speak to him after training a bit, not just about football, to be fair. We do talk about other things like how I've been at Notts and sort of outside of football. But yeah, I mean, the atmosphere amongst the squad as well. I think we're quite a close-knit team. I think we sort of do a lot together. We have enjoyable training sessions as well as sort of high-standard ones as well. But yeah, sort of the feel amongst the teams been very good, and I think we're all quite close now.
Yeah, fantastic to hear. Look, that's all the questions we've got time to put to you, George. We massively appreciate you giving us your time. So thank you very much for joining us on the channel.
No, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, George. And if you have enjoyed our videos or any of our videos with previous videos with players, please do drop us a subscription. George, looking forward to seeing you hopefully on Saturday against Salford in the 12:30 kickoff. And yeah, thank you for your questions, and thank you once again for your contributions to the channel.